Morning. I call the February 5th special meeting of the Arizona Board of Regents to order.
Yes, Chair.
We will convene an executive session for the executive session portion of the agenda. At 2:15, we'll reconvene in public. And at the conclusion of the public session, we will adjourn. We anticipate starting the UGO meeting at 2:30. So I move to enter into executive session for the executive session items listed on the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? The motion carries. The board will now meet executive session. Rachel?
Yes, Chair. We have a quorum.
We have a quorum? Okay. I want to welcome everyone to today's meeting. The meeting of the Board of Regents was called to order earlier this morning before convening an executive session. But before we go any further with today's agenda, I want to acknowledge a profound loss to our university community. We are grieving the death of a student who passed away on Saturday morning at Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff. On behalf of all members of the Arizona Board of Regents, we extend our deepest condolences to the student's family, friends, and all who are mourning. Every one of us around this table has sent children or family members off to college. And the one thing that every parent dreads is getting the call with bad news. And unfortunately, parents this weekend received that call, and they must be heartbroken. And we share their grief and extend our condolences to them. President Cruz Rivera.
Thank you, Chair Goodyear. This is a heartbreaking moment for NAU. We are mourning a young life full of promise, and it's not only about the loss of who this student was, but of all they were preparing to become. Our hearts are with their loved ones and all who are grieving. Our responsibility, first and always, is the safety and well-being of our students. And as we sit here today, we know that back on our campus in Flagstaff, there are friends, classmates, and roommates that are carrying real grief right now. As I have stated to our campus community, we want all of them to know that support is available, that they do not have to navigate this alone, and that we ask our broader NAU community to look out for one another, because that is when we are at our best. I also want to recognize that there is an active legal process underway in which we are fully cooperating, and we will be respectful of that process and of the family's request for privacy. Thank you, Chair Goodyear.
I now ask everyone to join us in a moment of silence to honor the student we've lost and to support all who are grieving. Thank you. We have one item for public session today, which is a request to approve the updated TRIF budget. Brad Kendricks from the ABOR staff will provide an overview. Brad, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Presidents and Regents. If we could move to the next slide. So as you all know, the Technology and Research Initiatives Fund is a piece of funding that comes from Prop 301 sales tax, flows through and is dedicated to the universities for purposes of supporting university attainment, workforce programs, and research initiatives. So as this funding comes into the board, there's a process by which that money is allocated out across a series of priorities. We have summarized on your slide here what those are. The first piece is that there is work that supports the oversight of research and workforce programs, as well as the administrative management of the TRIF funds that lives within the ABOR office. Then the next wave of funding moves on to each of the 3 universities who receive ongoing monthly payments from that tax revenue in order to support a portfolio of research and workforce projects that are proposed to the board and run in collaboration therein. Additionally, we have the Regents Grants and Regents Community Grants programs, where the board office and the universities work with state agencies and community organizations in order to identify projects that are of specific interest to Arizona and deliver research that helps to support and solve those problems. Next, we have a series of statewide initiatives where the board office, the universities, and partners are working to deliver outcomes in the workforce and attainment space in order to boost more college going and focus our programs. And finally, there are funds that the regions allocate to the universities in order to further advance the system-wide priorities in those areas of research, workforce, and attainment that adjust to the situations of the moment and what is happening. So these funds come in on a continuous basis. However, in the TRIF budget, there is purposefully some funding that is left unallocated so that the regions can have this conversation. So typically once a year, we bring the TRIF budget back so that the regions can review and essentially bless it moving forward so that we can make those allocations. We've summarized some of the changes that you would see in this version, or this year's version of the TRIF budget. The first thing is that compared to last year when we presented this to you, the revenues for this year are actually tracking ahead of budget. We are holding that revenue level constant for the next 3 years in our projections, just to be conservative. We don't want to over allocate the amount of funds in your plans right now, while acknowledging that as long as economy and other conditions hold, that we should expect some modest growth in those funds, so we can update that as life plays out. As it relates to the expenditure side of the TRIF budget, the Regents grants, we set a new target last year of $7 million in total allocations each year. We've been floating towards that goal in the award cycles of this last year. We've also updated the section on statewide initiatives to show current efforts. And then finally, the opportunity funds are adjusted in order to prioritize funding towards the University of Arizona as a financial backstop for CAMI construction, a building in downtown Phoenix, and then providing supplemental research funding to all 3 universities to advance their existing research and workforce agendas. So with that, if we flip to the next slide, it has the summary that appears in your materials, but I will pause there for any questions from the board about the proposed budget.
Hearing none. Regent Penley?
Thank you, Chair Goodyear. I realize this has been a difficult budget to put together, and I appreciate very much how much you as the chairman and the staff and the other officers of the board worked on this allocation. I know it's been tough to come up with something that works. Our allocations, to me, really, in a sense, it's all about the behavior. What are we really communicating when we allocate? And the question is what we're communicating about R&D, research and development for Arizona, and what are we communicating about workforce education and our support for workforce education and for the workforce of our state. So that is my focus. I'm going to spend more time here talking about our 2 largest universities for just a minute or two, because I intend to vote no on this allocation. And I want to explain why I'm voting no on the allocation. I really feel that our research dollars should be used for leveraging our research capability as an institution. We know that priorities have changed in Washington. This is a chaotic time for research in Washington, and it's a chaotic time, especially for the 2 largest universities that we have here in the state, both of which are major research universities. We are blessed in this state by having 2 universities, not just one. In most states, have at most one. Occasionally, you'll find two in some of the largest states, and we're certainly not one of the largest states. So we're especially, I think, benefited by the fact that we have two major research universities, both of which have over $1 billion in R&D expenditures in the most recent year. Whether we can maintain that or not, with the changing in priorities in Washington, is an open question. But I laud the leadership of all three universities for their work in reorienting plans, redirecting their initiatives to really pull back to Arizona the kind of research funding that really drives new businesses in our state, that has a huge economic benefit for Arizona. So I really think that's very important to note. I really believe that when we allocate not only the opportunity funds that we're focused on here today, but TRIP funding in general, what we're trying to do is leverage research. We're not spending something on research. We're creating a situation in which a faculty member, a group of students, a laboratory is pieced together in a way that gives us the capacity to really go after much, much greater funding. The new appointment of President Garamella, for example, to the Energy Committee in Washington is an example of what we need to do to really increase that kind of R&D. So I recognize that CAMI in Phoenix will be an important addition to our state. It builds on the research capability of the University of Arizona, and I've long felt that the University of Arizona Medical School in downtown Phoenix needed to add more research to it to really bring about the kind of medical and biomedical education that we really need. But at this particular stage, I believe we ought to be using debt financing and bonds to really pay for those buildings and to focus our very limited dollars, including those we're discussing at this moment, on really that leveraging process of engendering multiples of research dollars back to Arizona. And despite the immense work you, Chairman Goodyear, and others have put into this, I feel like this doesn't demonstrate that kind of recognition, both of the chaos in Washington, nor the need to engender both of our two major research universities to leverage their funds to go after that research. So I appreciate the work. I feel that the times warrant a somewhat different approach. And so that is the explanation for what I will do in a few moments. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Penley. You have been a very helpful and constructive voice through this whole process, and we're always grateful for all the energy and effort you put into this. So thank you for the explanation, and again, we're grateful for all that you do.
Thank you.
Any other comments on the proposal before us? Hearing none, I move that the board approve the updated TRIF budget as presented in the executive summary. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Was that an aye? Okay. Any opposed say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you. Before we adjourn, I would like to take a moment to congratulate Regent Jim McCain on his recent confirmation to the Board of Regents. His long record of public service, deep Arizona roots, and his commitment to strengthening opportunities for students will be a strong asset to our state and our public universities. He is not able to join us today, but he made it through with a unanimous vote out of the Senate Education Committee. He made it with a unanimous vote from the Senate on a voice vote. I think maybe only Lee Stein recently, Regent Lee Stein, has been able to pull that off. He can't join us, but let's give him a round of applause in absentia. So this concludes the public session and the February 5 special board meeting.